with every breath I breathe.
The voice of God calls us to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready. And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Sri Yukteswar,
beloved Guru,
beloved Guru,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
with deep love and gratitude,
with deep love and gratitude,
we humbly bow before you.
we humbly bow before you.
Bless us
Bless us
with deepening sincerity,
with deepening sincerity,
devotion,
devotion,
and the determination
and the determination
to find thee in this life
to find thee in this life
and to share thee with all.
and to share thee with all.
Om. Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Good morning, friends. We're so joy-filled. You can have a seat. You're so joy-filled. It's a special, in place of our normal Sunday service, we're having a special Swami Kriyananda discipleship anniversary. This is the day that Swamiji met our Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, right here in Los Angeles. And we want to start.
Move all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Move all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Move all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Move all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Lord, when in darkness, Lord, in confusion, always I'll follow thee. Lord, when in darkness, Lord, in confusion, always I'll follow thee. If I grieve or lose my way, only thou canst comfort me. If I grieve or lose my way, only thou canst comfort me. All I live for is to love thee, my eternal friend. All I live for is to love thee, my eternal friend. All I live for is to love thee, my eternal friend. All I live for is to love thee, my eternal friend. My beloved friend. My beloved friend. My beloved friend. Continue to meditate as you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week. Inspiration. Inspiration is of two kinds: the rediscovery or rearrangement of thoughts that already exist in the subconscious mind,
and the sudden appearance of new thoughts or new insights from the superconscious. This higher inspiration certainly is more to be desired than the lower, for it is based in truth and not in imagination. It is not always easy, however, to recognize the difference between lower and higher inspiration, particularly when the lower is vitalized by the emotions. When inspiration comes, receive it with calm love and see whether, untouched by emotion, its impulse grows stronger or weaker. Love is the water that nourishes true inspiration. And now let's affirm together, first in a strong voice, grabbing the attention of the conscious mind. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
Now a little softer. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
Now in a whisper, but with even deeper focus, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
Hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self.
And now, silently, with the deepest focus at the point between the eyebrows, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self. And please pray silently with me. O Spirit, thou art all truth. In thee lies the solution to my every need. Inspire me now, Lord. Show me which path to follow of the many that lie before me. Om. Peace.
Peace.
Amen. Good morning again. Welcome to our special service for Swamiji's Discipleship anniversary. For those who, maybe new, welcome. My name is Dharma Devi, for anyone new joining online. And this is Narayan. And we're not doing the normal reading from Rays of the One Light. We'll do a Whispers from Eternity reading, and Narayan will share, and we'll have a special slideshow of Swamiji. This is My Guru. Thou light of my life, thou camest to spread wisdom's glow over the path of my soul. Centuries of darkness dissolved before the shafts of thy luminous help. As a naughty baby, I cried for my mother divine, and she came to me as my guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. At that meeting, O my guru, a spark flew from thee, and the faggots of my God craving, gathered through incarnations, smoldered and blazed into bliss. All my questions have been answered with thy flaming golden touch. Eternal, ever-present satisfaction has come to me through thy glory. My Guru, thou voice of God, I found thee in response to my soul cries. Slumbers of sorrow are gone, and I am awake in bliss. If all the gods are displeased, yet thou art pleased, I am safe in the fortress of thy pleasure, And if all the gods protect me behind the parapets of their blessings, yet I receive not thy benedictions. I am an orphan, left to pine spiritually in the ruins of thy displeasure. O Guru, thou didst bring me out of the bottomless pit of darkness into the paradise of peace. Our souls met after years of waiting. They trembled with an omnipresent thrill. We met here because we had met before. Together, we will fly to his shores, where we will smash our planes of finitude forever and vanish into infinite life. I bow to thee as the spoken voice of silent God. I bow to thee as the divine door which leads to the temple of salvation. I bow to thee, to thy master Lahiri Mahashaya, harbinger of yoga in Benares, and I lay the flowers of my devotion at the feet of Babaji, our supreme master.
It reminded me of a story of Swamiji. It was in, I think, 2005, and it was actually my first pilgrimage to India. And Swamiji was giving this program for Yogananda's Mahasamadhi, and he was giving this, beautiful lecture, hundreds of people, there's maybe 300 people in this hall in a hotel, and all of a sudden, a cell phone rang. One ring, the second ring, and then by the third one, Swamiji finally said, "Will you please turn off your cell phone?" Swami is very sweet and kind and clear, and the phone kept ringing. And then he went, "Oh dear." And he reached into his pocket, and it was his cell phone that was ringing. He was a little hard of hearing, towards the end of his life. And everyone got a really good laugh with Swamiji. But it reminded me of the essence of his life, of discipleship. In India, they talk about the raga. Rupsha does beautiful Indian dance. 2 ragas, right? A raga is a melody in India, and it has a certain core to it, a certain essence. There's ragas for the autumn, there are ragas for summer, there are ragas for winter, there are ragas for the beginning of the day, the end of the day. It goes on and on. But within each raga, within each melody, there's this sort of central core to it, this central essence. And I thought, well, that was what Swamiji's life was. It was this raga of discipleship. It had this core melody of that first meeting that he had 73 years ago. Imagine that, with Master. When from the wellspring of his heart, what he expressed, "I want to be your disciple." Out of everything else in his life, all of the incredible books that he wrote, the music, the communities, all of his incredible achievements, he said, all I want to be known as is a good disciple. And I was thinking, well, what was that raga? What was that melody? And Master said that he expressed a certain divine qualities, that he expressed love, joy, and wisdom. And I have felt, I'm sure you have as well, that that's what we felt from Swami's life. I remember I was thinking, well, how did Swamiji express love in so many ways? And one way that we can tune into it, he said, is to, if you want to get to know me, listen to my music. There's so many beautiful. Dharma Devi and I will listen, or we'll sing a song, and we'll say, wow, that's my favorite Swami song. This one's my favorite. It's like ever new joy. It just keeps going. And that's a key into itself that he gave us. is that he was never attached to the creation, right? He offered it back up into the stream of the infinite. He didn't cling to things. And because he could offer them, it was just this ceaseless dynamo of energy, of creativity, of love. And so I was meditating on this and thinking, well, Swami also, he expressed love as kindness. He manifested that love in daily life as kindness. And there are hundreds of stories that people could tell you and that you can read in some of the books that we have on Swamiji. I'd like to share with you just one small anecdote from my life with Swami. It was when I was serving at Crystal Clarity in its previous incarnation at Ananda Village. And for some reason, we needed to bring books over for Swami. And whenever there was that opportunity, it was great, of course, sir, we'll bring books and we get to have satsang with Swami. It was the excuse, right? And so he happened to be having lunch with his cousin. It's a woman named Bet, who I don't think is no longer in the body. She was a very deep soul. He actually writes about her, if you've read The New Path. Swami had a cousin that was very spiritual that met Master. It was this woman, Bet. And so right when I arrived, he was there at the Crystal Hermitage, and they were about to sit down and have lunch. And I had I had the books, but I forgot, I had a gardenia flower. You probably know gardenia. Master said it was one of his favorite flowers, that beautiful aromatic fragrance, that comes from the gardenia flower. And so I was inspired to bring this gardenia to Swamiji with the books. And so I did. So I had books and a flower. And Swamiji was there about to have lunch. And it was a very simple exchange. He said, "Oh, Bet, this is my friend Phil." And I tell you, I was rooted to the spot. I couldn't speak because I thought, he considers me his friend? He's my friend. He's my divine friend. But he really did. And that was some of the beauty and the magic of being with Swamiji. And it didn't end when he left, because he carried that on. That love, it rolls on through his joy. And it was that joyful reunion that he had with Master, that when he came, remember, he was absolutely desperate for truth. Just like we were sharing in the discipleship satsang we had yesterday, the story of the young man who comes to the Guru, and the Guru takes him down to the river and takes his head and holds his head underwater for a minute, and then he picks him up, and he says, "What did you want?" "Air." And the Guru said, "Well, come back when you want God that much." But that's how Swami was. He was absolutely desperate for truth, right? Like how Master said, when you're a little serious, God sends you books. When you get a little bit more serious, he sends you teachers. When you get very earnest, when you mean business for God, and we know some people that are in business for God here. When you mean business, he sends you the Guru. Because that moment, if you think of it, that's when Ananda began 73 years ago. I want to be your disciple. That was the genesis of this whole movement. And we tried to hold on to the best of our ability, that spirit. And that's why Swamiji gave the principle in Ananda, that people are more important than things. The organization is subservient to the individual. We have an organization, but you don't want to over-organize. It's like Swami used to say an organization is like fertilizer. Just the right amount will help things flow. Too much, it kills things, right? Our Master said, too many rules kill the spirit. So that spirit, though, really of Ananda was that moment that's where Swami met Master. Can you imagine? It was a reunion. It wasn't the first time. How could it have been? Our souls met here because they met before. So I asked Dharmadevi to read that Whispers today. There is something that happens. I know you've all felt it, where you met someone and there's that soul recognition, or you've seen a picture maybe of Yogananda and it was a soul recognition. It's an awakening within our soul. And that was the other part of being with Swamiji, was the joy of God that he shared so freely with everyone. There was a time, actually, I think it was that same trip when I went to India for the first time, and in one of the lectures, Swami said, well, now let's meditate together. And he rarely did that. And it was just a brief meditation. It was maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes, something very short. And I felt such a blessing just in that brief moment. That's why we try to carry this legacy on. It's just one moment. That's why they say in India, one moment in the presence of a saint can be your raft over the ocean of delusion. It's all you need is that one moment. And Swamiji had that moment, but then he didn't just keep it for himself. Right? He had the vertical line of the cross, his connection with God through his guru, but he had such compassion and such a desire to share it. That was his horizontal line, so to speak, right? Where he then shared it through the rest of his life. And it was this raga, this singing, this song of love, of joy. And then what was that final note? Wisdom. I was thinking, what was all the books, all of the philosophy? You know what Swamiji's greatest wisdom was? I want to be your disciple. Let's follow in his footsteps. God bless you.
The master seated himself on a chair and motioned me to a sofa beside him. "What may I do for you?" For the third time that day these same gentle words, but this time how fraught with meaning. I want to be your disciple. The reply welled up from my heart irresistibly. Never had I expected to utter such words to another human being. The Master smiled gently. There ensued a long discussion, interspersed by long silences. "All right," he said at last. "You have good karma. You may join us." "Oh, but I can wait," I blurted out, hoping he wasn't taking me only because I hadn't yet found any other place to live. "No," he smiled. "You have good karma. Otherwise I wouldn't accept you." Gazing at me now with deep love, he said, "I give you my unconditional love." Immortal promise. I couldn't begin to fathom the depth of meaning in those words. "Will you give me your unconditional love?" "Yes." "And will you also give me your unconditional obedience?" Desperately though I desired to be accepted by him, I had to be utterly honest. "Suppose some time," I asked, "I think you're wrong." "I will never ask anything of you," he replied solemnly, "that God does not tell me to ask." My Guru continued, "When I met my Master, he gave me his unconditional love, as I have given you mine. He then asked me to love him in the same way, unconditionally. But I replied, 'Sir, what if I should ever find you less than a Christ-like Master? Could I still love you in the same way?' My Master looked at me sternly. 'I don't want your love,' he said. 'It stinks.' "I understand, sir," I assured him. He had struck at the heart of my greatest weakness, intellectual doubt. With feeling I said to him, "I give you my unconditional love." He went on to give me various instructions. "Now then, come kneel before me." I did so. He made me repeat in the name of God, Jesus Christ, and the rest of our line of gurus, the vows of discipleship and of renunciation. Next he placed the forefinger of his right hand on my chest over the heart. For at least 2 minutes his arm vibrated almost violently. Incredibly, from that moment onward my consciousness, in some all-penetrating way, was transformed. I left his interview room in a daze. Norman, on hearing that I'd been accepted, embraced me lovingly. It was unusual, to say the least, for anyone to be accepted so quickly. A few moments later, Master came out from behind the open curtain on the lecture platform. Smiling at us quietly, he said, "We have a new brother."
All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I stretch out my hand and smile, when I live from above.